Hey folks, this is Mike Tango Whiskey coming at you with episode 26 of the Hurt Feelings Report. As you know, the Hurt Feelings Report is my weekly show where I review the comments from the past week on all my videos, pulling out the very best insults and the very best insights. Things that make me laugh, things that make me think. And it gives me a chance to respond and maybe elaborate a little bit where in my videos I may not have been as clear or as concise as I could have been or should have been. So it's a good growth process for me. I feel like people who watch the Hurt Feelings Report are already my loyal watchers. So it gives me an opportunity to give them a deeper, darker look into my brain and my mind and maybe clear some things up. But a little bit of a channel review. So currently sitting at 23,182 subscribers. What videos did I put out this past week? So this was a holiday week, so I wasn't at work. And I did something a little different. So I tried, since the last Hurt Feelings Report, I noticed my philosophy videos were getting more views than like my gear and kit videos. So I tried a whole week of nothing but philosophy videos. So I did, back on Monday, 3 prepper habits. On Tuesday, I did the coming fight, talking about compliance. I talked about Wednesday about prepping for job loss. Thursday, which was Christmas, a little bit of a reflection on being consumed by prepping. And then Friday, which was yesterday, I expanded on the idea of non-compliance that I brought up in that Tuesday's video. So Tuesday's video by far did the most. And again, it's hard to fight the algorithm, man. I feel like the stuff that's scary gets more views. So the temptation is always there to do more doomsday stuff, right? But that's not really the soul of my channel. So I will continue to try and balance those two things out, have a reasonable perspective, a common sense, everyman kind of approach, while at the same time considering the things that are likely to come. And in all fairness, I think there are some terrible things that are likely to come now where I didn't maybe think that before. So maybe the tone of my channel will change, but I don't think that it's because I've changed. It's just because I think the environment's changing a little bit. So anyway. Okay, let's jump right in. I'm gonna start with this one. I pulled this one, kind of plucked this out of the group. This is in response to the coming fight video. Man, you are paranoid. Your poor family. Teary-faced emoji. So he is weeping for my wife and children, having to, I assume, live with me and deal with me. I responded, I looked him up. I said, aren't you subscribed? Are you subscribed to my channel? How is it that 6 months in, after 230 some odd videos, you're saying that I'm paranoid? Of course I'm paranoid. I'm a prepper. Yes, I'm paranoid. Aren't all preppers kind of paranoid? It's funny. We have been accused of being paranoid before. And I think that's probably true. I am paranoid. Me and my wife are paranoid. But it's only paranoia till something actually happens. Then you're smart. Then you're prepared. Then you're so wise, right? Yeah, I think you have to be a little bit paranoid. I think this world is more deceptive and cynical than it's ever been. You have to be paranoid because we're constantly being lied to. That's the truth. And you have to be paranoid. Now, in terms of impact on my family, I would say my viewing audience gets way more of my paranoia than my kids do. Me and my wife are on the same page. She's probably more paranoid than I am in some ways, but like my kids, I'm not every day doomsdaying my kids, telling them about all the crap that's coming. Like when it reaches a point where I feel reasonably sure that something is, especially my older kids, I will talk to them about finances, about the economy, about the housing market and those kind of things. My kids see me being prepared and doing all the things, but I certainly don't try and make them as paranoid as I am. I don't think they are. I think they're more optimistic than I am. But yeah, this guy's subscribed. I was like, how do you... It's like, whatever. Okay, back to the top. And what I do is I go through and I'll put a heart next to the comment if it makes me think or I want to comment on it. This is the perfect coming storm from about 2 weeks ago. The best prep, accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I truly believe we will experience the rapture in the next 12 to 24 months. All the signs are in place. I'm just glad I won't have to be here for the ultimate craziness. So, for those of you that are not, this was from Movie Girl Beth. For those of you that are not Christians or believers, there are prophecies in the book of Revelations and all throughout Scripture that talk about the second coming and the end times and a bunch of scary stuff, right? Now, there's disagreement in the church. The modern church, for the most part, believes in what is called a pre-tribulation rapture. So the rapture is when God snatches all the Christians off the planet. They just disappear, they vanish. Then the tribulation is a 7-year period of immense turmoil. So it talks about the horsemen and the 7 vials and like war and famine and pestilence and all these terrible, horrible things that are going to happen during the tribulation. 7 years of groaning, and then Jesus comes back, and there's like all this timeline stuff. Most Christians now, most modern Western Christians believe in pre-tribulation. In other words, we're going to be raptured off, so the Christians won't be here for the 7 hard years. That would be nice. But traditionally, the church, like the early church and the church over the centuries, didn't really believe that. A pre-tribulation rapture, from what I understand, is a relatively modern idea. Most Christians believed in a post-trib rapture. So, and this is interesting because I kind of flounder between the two. I try and hold both ideas. I don't know which one it is. I would like to believe that it's pre-tribulation rapture, that I won't be here for that my kids and family won't be. But what if I'm wrong? So my advice, and I said this to her, I said, hope like you are pre-trib, prep like you are post-trib. So we hope and we pray that we get snatched off before all that stuff happens, but we prep and we prepare as if we're going to be here for it, right? If not, great. Someone else, all of our stuff will be a cash loot, will be a loot drop for somebody, and they can raid our garage and take all of our stuff. So it's both. It's yes and. So will you resist my resistance video? Someone said, soft sabotage is a learned skill. Yeah, it's, that's true. I've got, Seth Waltech sent me, or Seth Wall from walltech.com sent me, look at this. I don't know if that's going to be backwards. The Modern Simple Sabotage Field Manual. So talks about soft sabotage. I didn't talk about sabotage specifically. I did talk about non-compliance, but the two, I guess they're related. I guess those are similar concepts, right? They're two sides of the same coin. My prepping for a job loss video, really it was preparing to keep your job. That's how I should have titled that video. It wasn't preparing to be jobless. It was how to work to keep the job you have. You did a great job of breaking down the subtleties and nuances to the point of disguise. However, what it comes down to is this. It's still what we boomers call kissing the arse. He says the other A word. I've never been in the people trades. Actually was a math tutor for a while. But yeah, if I was, I would be refreshing relationships with coworkers, the boss and their boss. AI can't replace that. People work with people, not just with information processing. Yeah, that's from Paul 7754. Yeah, I'm in the people business. So my job is people. I work with people, I connect with people, I collaborate with people, I communicate with people. And I think, so I'm planning a career pivot based on what AI might do to the job market. The fact that AI might take my job. I am doing some planning in that area. And I'm doubling down on humanity. I have some ideas on how to, that even if tech becomes a major thing, that people skills will be even worse than they already are. So I'm doubling down on humanity. That's my plan to pivot my career towards something that will be harder to replace. But yeah, that's a great point. Guardsman 134 says, the real reason why pennies, I did a post about pennies, get them while you can. The real reason why pennies were discontinued is that they can be used in a 12 gauge shotgun with minimal manipulation. Never forget that they will sell you heaven and drag you straight to hell. Dimes are next. I didn't know that about pennies. Please don't try that at home. I am certainly not recommending that you try to put pennies into a firearm. But that's interesting. I had never heard that before. I think nickels are next because of the 75% copper. I think they're next on the chopping block. In fact, if you look at coinflation.com, currently the nickel already costs more than it's worth to produce. So someone said it's because they cost more to mint than their value, talking about the pennies. Canada got rid of them a decade ago. And I said nickels. He says, not unless you guys are going to start rounding to the nearest 10 cents. I mean, why not? Why not? Tax everywhere is like 8 or 9%. The state would very quickly just go, okay, it's 10%. Round numbers are better. Let's just go 10%. And let's be honest, $2.99 was always $3. 69 cents was always $70. That was just some little like mental, psychological trick to get us to think it's less, and it's not. That wouldn't be a hard switch to round up to the 10 cents on every dollar. Yeah, but I think the nickels are next, so I've tried to pivot to nickels. Also, I'm warm. I've got a heater behind me warming my butt, and then based on audience feedback, I've got a Mr. Buddy heater down below blasting heat from my hands. That's why my hands are down below here today. So, okay, the coming fight video. This is good intel because this is from a cop, right? So as an officer, now retired, in corrections, they tried forcing us to wear the face diaper. I might have started a little revolution. I simply refused. They threatened to write me up. I welcomed it, stating that there was no policy, no procedure, and no precedent. I like the 3 Ps, sir. Thank you for that. For being forced to wear a face diaper. They threatened to send me home, no problem. You won't touch my sick time, vacation time, and you'll pay me regardless. I cited the policy and they shut up. Finally, they resorted to calling me out during the roll call in the mornings. Hey, such and such, where's your mask? They would say that at the beginning of each day. And he would say, right where I left it, on your mother's bedpost. Can I go to my unit now? Then I'd laugh my butt off all the way to the elevators. Within a couple weeks, a memo from the sheriff went out to all roll calls, read-offs they call them. It stated that supervisors couldn't even suggest face masks anymore. And everyone turned and looked at me in the back of the room, my salty arse. I just smiled and said out loud, you're welcome. That is the best story ever. Hey, where's your mask? But, oh, it's on your mom's bedpost. I said, that's the best mask story ever, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that was the big thing is with the whole face diaper, they tried to get us to believe that it was law. That's the way it was presented. And that was a big part of the deception was they led and they let us believe that it was law when it was not law. Okay? That was kind of the start of it for me, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Plus, I used to wear respirators, and I know what it takes to have a respirator fit to your face, and none of the stuff they were saying made any sense. There's the paranoid comment. My poor family. Crying for my kids. You poor children. It's for the children. So, will you resist? I love a nice delay and distract. I also throw in random compliments. Wow, I love that shirt. It looks so cute on you. Well, I can't say cute, but nothing to see here. It's kind of like playing dumb until you can't anymore. Yes. So I am better at this than my wife. My wife isn't very good at the honey. I'm better at the honey. She's more the vinegar. She'll just tell him. She's like, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. Since I deal with people a lot and I'm a communicator, that's my trade. I do tend to try and engage and connect with people immediately. It doesn't always work, especially in those scenarios, but I think sometimes it does help to grease the wheels a little bit. So my resistance video, don't you live, so Jason Lassen 7599 says, don't you live in a neighborhood cul-de-sac? Probably with an HOA or at least some city desk jockey telling you what you can and can't do with your home and property? Aren't you making a big deal about pushing back on the small things while complying with the big ones? It's hard to take this kind of advice from a city slicker. Guilty as charged, man. I'm the 68% president. What do you want me to say? I live in a suburban neighborhood, not in a cul-de-sac, but I have lots of cul-de-sacs around me. There is no HOA, but I mean, do I comply? Yeah, I comply, and of course I do. This is the challenge of the 68%. We live relatively normal lives. There's lots of ways we comply. But that's kind of the point of the video, is each of us have to find the ways where we're going to draw those lines, what we're going to draw the lines for, where our line in the sand is, what are the hills we're going to die on. We each have to decide that, you know? Yeah, and I said, plus my non-compliance with the big ones, like the big stuff that I don't comply with, it doesn't make it into videos. I'm not putting that on YouTube. Like, here's the way I don't comply with this. Like, that's retarded. I'm not going to do that. So there are some other ways. He actually said, I think it's cool that you replied. I really like your channel and general theory on preparing for the middle bell curve. You seem like a good guy for a city boy. So thank you. See, we made up. We're now best friends. Jason Lassen, 75. Yeah, listen, I'm working on getting to the woods, man. I'm working on, we're hoping to buy property next year. Me and my wife have a plan in place, a monetary plan, and some things we're going to do to make sure that we're able to get land next year. Yeah, I'm working on it, dude. Okay. I'm in the 68%, but I'm working towards the 32%. Will you resist? This is interesting. So Ops Tut says there was a Harvard study. People are 90% likely to say yes on a 12th question, regardless of what the question asks, if they have said yes to the previous 11 questions. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Compliance, there's something in the human animal, and there's tons of research, some really great, the Harvard study with the glasses and the prisoners, the buzzer where they electrocute people to death. Someone in a lab coat is like, it's fine, just keep going, just keep, and they're screaming, they're like, I'm dying, and they kill people, or they think they kill people, and they just keep pushing the button. So, yes, compliance it's innate to the human animal that we don't want to rock the boat, that we don't want to, it's funny, I've seen experiments where they told, like there was students in a class and there was like smoke coming under the door, and only one kid is not part of the experiment, and everybody else is just like, and he's noticing the smoke, and he sits there thinking the place is on fire because nobody else has gotten up. Like there's part of us, this social programming where we just want to do what everybody else is doing. Oh, this is the same thing. So this is the same video. It says, just doing their job, so it's related, doesn't fly with me at all. People don't need to be evil in order to carry out evil actions and policies. They just need to have been indoctrinated into the systems that they serve. Lack of critical thinking ability, empathy, compassion, and a good dose of cowardice are also the traits found in the I was just doing my job crowd. We're in the mess we're in large part because order followers are just doing their jobs. That's Wrathful Spectre 2882. Completely agree with this statement. In my video, so I talked about the agents of the system. In my example, my story, it was nurses, right? In general, I love nurses. Nurses are great. I like nurses better than doctors, to be honest with you. I think they have good intentions, but there's some truth to this. There's some truth to this. People will protect their viability. They'll protect their job. They will protect their role in that system right up all the way against whatever you're trying to do. So I kind of agree with this. I was just doing my job. I mean, harkens back to like World War II, right? That's where a lot of those experiments came from, because out of the atrocities of World War II, people were like, how could people do that? How could regular people, and they've done some really great and interesting things where positions of authority are telling us and people just do it, even though they know it's wrong, even though they disagree, even though they think that they still do it, right? And there's a large gap there. So the whole compliance thing, my estimate was 5% were not wearing the face diaper, but that probably another 40% were in complete agreement. They were like, this is all BS, but they still complied. That 40% is scarier to me than like the bottom 20% who are wholeheartedly believe everything that those people scare me less than the people in the middle who know better and still go through with it. It's terrifying stuff. So, yeah, I feel like as preppers, we fight against all of the stuff happening, the world and the government trying to do stuff, right? And we're responding to that. But then over here, there's also very much our response to the mob, to the crowd, to the panicky human animal around us that is unpredictable, that is fickle, that is impulsive. That's almost scarier because the government and sometimes is like far away, but the people around us are right next to us, you know? That's scary. Okay, prepper burnout. I put out a video. I was eating ice cream in the garage at midnight on Christmas. Overwhelmed by being a father. I talked about the overwhelming, sometimes I feel overwhelmed with responsibility. That's my job, right? Overwhelmed by being a father, overwhelmed by being a husband. Do you ever get overwhelmed by putting your face on YouTube? Those statements sounded so self-preoccupied. Sorry to check you, but there will be a day when you wish you could just be a father and a husband. Okay, Stacky 512A, whatever. No. This side project of mine on YouTube is not overwhelming to me. I estimate that I put in about 6 hours a week to the channel, outside of thought, like actual work, producing videos and doing things in the thinking. I don't count that time, but so yeah, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Yeah, I have 8 children. I have a lot of responsibility. How dare you? Yeah, I'm kind of like, how dare you shame me for being overwhelmed sometimes? Of course, I'm a man. That's our job, is to shoulder the load, but sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes my shoulders hurt. Sometimes I get a cramp in my trap from the load that I bear. I don't set the load down. I still frickin' carry it miles and miles while I have blisters, right? Yeah, I don't feel overwhelmed. This side project is not over. If this project was overwhelming, my wife would tell me immediately and it would come to an end. I've done that before where I got so involved in projects. My wife was like, hey, look, you're past the line here, buddy. And whenever she's checking me, she's usually right. So if I get to that point, this channel will just end. And then these videos will just live in perpetuity out there in the world. I said, are you a father? I said, no, 6 hours per week. The rest goes to work and family. He says, yes. I guess when I translate statements such as those you made, I remember back when I felt that way. Nowadays, I don't take either role for granted. I try and remind those on the younger side of me to do the same. Thanks for replying and taking care. Cordial. Thank you, sir. I appreciate the comment. Let's see. Will you resist? I talked about the Walmart greeter. There's absolutely, so 3AD Scout, regular, one of my regulars, he says, there's absolutely zero legal basis that requires you to give your receipt to Walmart upon exiting. If they try, are you detaining me? Are you accusing me of theft? Say it out loud. Don't scream, but say it out loud. FYI, if you shop at Sam's Club, it is part of the terms of membership. So, yeah. Are you detaining me? Are you accusing? Yeah, I can see that. That's great. I love that. So the Walmart greeters again, the will you resist? This guy says, great story. I relate to your experience with the Walmart greeters. I'm a white guy married 25 years to a Hispanic woman. She gets treated differently out in public. Yeah, cops call him brother, but then she gets pulled over. And so he's contrasting on the racial disparity that exists out there. Someone typed in response to this guy's comment, he says fiction. So this guy, as I did in that scenario, mine's based on reality, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I see it. I am very, very slow to play the race card. To the point where it gets on my wife's nerves. Like, I'll be so logical and like, well, perhaps, maybe they, there's also this possibility. But sometimes, if you recognize patterns, and I pay attention, I have to pay attention to that stuff out in public. There'll be times where my wife is at the bank, like at the teller, and I'll walk up right next to her, stand at the counter with her, and like she's right here and the teller's right there, and she goes, sir, could you wait your turn? So you think I just walked up to this random black woman and I'm just standing this close to? Yeah, I mean, I see it. It's not at the top of my list of terrible offenses, racism to me, obviously that's something that I have to pay attention to. And I see it, that it's a real thing, but it doesn't consume me. It doesn't consume my day. I don't really even care if somebody is a racist. I'm like, what you think about, I don't care what you think. If you have the balls to speak, to say something, then you're on my radar. You're like in my scope. I'm like, okay. Now, if you act on it, that's when we have a problem. You can think whatever the hell you want. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. I don't care how you look at me. I don't care how you scoff. I don't care what you think. I really don't care. I pay attention to the ones that try and act on it. So, let's see. Okay, coming fight. So ask yourself, which is worse, misery and terror before you pass, or sheer agony for all eternity? So this is from One God, One Truth, One Life, Forever. Ask yourself, which is worse, misery and terror before you pass, or sheer agony for all eternity? He says, choose wisely. The second one, which is worse? The second one, yeah. I get the point you're trying to make, but that was a terrible question. What a terrible test question. You gave the answer away. So I was being snarky and I said, can I get a hint? Can you give me a hint, like which one's worse? But are you saying that we should put up with all of it here as long as we're saved? Because, I mean, that's going to happen anyway, right? Get saved, and then, yeah, you're going to have to put up with terrible crap, but it is better. I don't know. You need to take a test writing class, sir. I've done that too. I know how to write tests. That was a bad test question. Preparing for jobs. So preparing to keep your job. Kayla Moss says, how about we all quit at the same time and overthrow our country like smart people instead of waiting to die off slowly and just work until our death? Okay, I am not advocating for anybody to overthrow the country. For the meantime, I'm going to keep my job. I'm going to produce revenue streams that enable me to prepare my family. But I get your sentiment. I don't know that people will rebel in those numbers ever. Oh, this was great. So will you resist? So I talked about the 3 Ds, right? What was it? Distract, delay, and decline. So distract them, change the subject. Delay is put it off, and decline, just say, no thank you. So Am Radko says, I use these tactics with my wife. Oh, shoot. I almost pissed on myself when I read that. So, honey, can you take the trash out? Be like, oh, hey, what's that over there? Hey, the trash is still not taken out. Be like, oh, man, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll do it after I go to the bathroom. And then finally, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that. By the way, I am not recommending you use those tactics with your wife. Unless you record it and put a video and then send it to me. Prepping for the fight. This guy says, ooh, he's got a big bulging bicep in his little picture there. Prepping is a form of compliance. It's a method used by those who, for whatever reason, aren't going to go to the front lines and punch the face of those that claim to be in power. So that confused me. I was like, prepping is a form of compliance. So by prepping, I am acknowledging that they have power over me and I can do nothing about it. I said, can you expand on this? And he goes, I feel like prepping is preparing for the inevitable, which isn't necessarily a bad or cowardly thing, although it could be. Then there are those who try to stop the powers that be in their tracks, thereby negating the need for prepping. Okay, I think I understand the concept of what he's saying, but fighting the powers that be, trying to stop the powers that be in their tracks, that requires a hell of a lot of preparedness. Like, I see what you're saying. I know what you're saying. We wouldn't have to like store food if we, I don't know, fought the powers that be that feed us and we took the food back or something. Maybe. Freya Wild Science Fiction, all 8156, the resistance video. This kind of stuff has been my experience also. Try not to circumcise your child. Doctors get very upset when you won't let them amputate body parts from your child. It's horrible. Someone else says, or refuse to get them vaccinated. CPS will be there to threaten to take them from you. Yeah. They try to push it on us. We refuse the hospital. Got a great, yeah. Finding a good doctor is difficult. most doctors that I have experienced are part of that system, right? Where we found one really good doctor during the pandemic, and he was and continues to be a huge asset for my family to help navigate some of these control systems. But yeah, you try. They want to circumcise them the next day. They want to even before their vitamin K levels are high. Is it their vitamin K? I think it's their vitamin K levels that are super high, where it promotes blood clotting. That happens on the 8th day. Scripture talks about that too. So when they circumcise them on the 2nd day, like bleeding can be an issue. And then the vaccinations too. So I think there's 72 vaccines on the schedule before a child is 5 years old. So if you fight that schedule in any way, you should expect some resistance. Like they're gonna give you crap about it for sure, unless you find a great doctor. And they're out there. They're just hard to find. They're not the norm. That's for sure. And it can be scary too, because when you're in a hospital or even in a doctor's appointment, like you are on their territory. That's their stronghold, right? Okay, prepper burnout. So the ice cream video from my garage on Christmas night, Wasteland by Wednesday. Chris sent me $50. Merry Christmas to you too, Chris. He goes, I know you don't like to type more than a couple sentences. He's right. I'm like, yep, yes, heart emoji, thumbs up, laugh out loud. I can't spend too much time on it because it'll consume me. But I'd like more than a vowel here. So he had me break down. He said he's trying to make a point. He says, don't burn out or I'll pour a bucket of water on you. So he had me so I listed as a response in this, I listed out my day. I said, normally I'm done with school. I've had like 20 years of school, and I don't like homework assignments. But Chris is a friend of mine, so I took this homework assignment, plus he's paying me to do it. So I listed out my schedule, like my whole daily schedule and how I spend my time. And then what he did is he took that and he put it in this like data thing, and he emailed me this graph chart that lists out how my time is allotted and how much time I spend on things. He tells me to get more sleep. So it's excellent. It's a unreasonably collapse-focused analysis that he sent to me. That's what he calls it. So it's great. It has been sent. So I'm going through that thing, and it's been kind of eye-opening, because what it does is it's showing me how I spend my time. It's like an analysis of my day, which I don't really do that ever. I just I feel like most days I'm just putting out fires and I'm just responding to whatever's in front of me, which is not good. It is not a good way to spend your time. That's for sure. My little 95% compliance short from last week's Hurt Feelings report. Lance Pittman, 5066 says, how hard is it to put on a mask if you're asked to? First of all, it's very easy to put a mask on. It doesn't hurt anybody to comply. Oh, this is, when you're at home or just around your family, then you can do whatever you want. You're right, Lance. It is not hard to do that. Now, it doesn't hurt anybody to comply. I think it does hurt people when you comply with things that should not be complied with. How hard is it to comply? It hurts you every time you comply, because there's so many people that I talked to during that time who said that they were doing it to keep the peace and, like they presented it as if it was a Christian value to do that. And I know that sometimes that can probably be true. But what it boiled down to, what I learned over those weeks and months at the beginning, was that most people were only acting out of fear. They were scared of conflict. They were scared of what others might think or say. They were scared of consequence of nonconformance. That's what it was. And acting out of fear is not a Christian value. It's not a Christian principle. So people will act in their best interest and then justify it, right? Do you know how hard which one took more courage? Does compliance take more courage, or does non-compliance take more courage? Okay, then you might say, well, it's more like it's love. And the reason, you know how I know it wasn't love? Because the governor of my state, who is not by any stretch of the imagination a Christian, okay, that's the same line he was using. He was saying, if you love your neighbor, you should do this. If you love your grandma, you will do. The second that the government, that the state is giving me my values, that's a red flag to run the other frickin' way. That's a sure sign that you are on the wrong side if you're doing what the state is telling you to do. I guarantee you that. So that made it even more clear for me. Once the people around me were saying the thing, and then the state started parroting the same, I was like, not for me. I'm going this way, for sure. And then someone says, how hard is it to let someone coerce you into wearing a mask? He said, if you understand science, if you understand science. Well, the science has all changed since then, so you might want to look that up too. Science. Fauci admitted about the 6 feet. He said he made it up. Oh, okay. Oh, this is a good one. Prepper burnout. So eating ice cream. Shannon Clark Myers says, Merry Christmas to start with. Now the rant. You are aware that an areola is referencing a woman's nipple, right? Okay, I'm going to try and not be disrespectful here, Shannon. I appreciate your comment, first of all. Of course, yes, I'm familiar with what that term means. I am, yes. You've said it a few times, and now I'm curious and somewhat put off by the reference of the circle of trust being compared to an areola. What the heck, dude? 3 question marks. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I have trouble in connecting my circle of trusted peeps to the circle of colored skin around a woman's nipple. Would you associate your circle of trusted people with a circle around the head of a man's penis? 3 question marks. I'm sorry, I know this isn't meant to be comedy. I'm just a little confused. Maybe you're referring to something else, or maybe you think you're saying something else. That's what I thought the first couple of times, but you seem like a pretty smart guy. So I said, like I said, I'm like a little confused. Rant over. She also says, on the whole, I really like your channel. I like that you're addressing the 68%. Not all of us want to jump out of helicopters holding ARs. Okay. Whew. I'm sorry. All right, Shannon. So, no, I know, I know what an areola is. The reference is intentional, and let me explain. I understand how it could be off-putting, but let me explain how I think it's accurate. First of all, there was a guy. Did I write his name down? Because I used that term, and this guy said, "What? No credit?" So he, during one of my videos, yeah, here it is. I think this is him. So during one of my videos, I drew a circle, and it was meant to be a ring of fire, and someone said it looked like an areola. He said that the circle of, or the areola, he didn't say areola of trust, he said something about areola. And I was like, I laughed because that's a great metaphor, the areola of trust, because that's what it looked like. So it started as kind of an inside joke. Jake Trent, he's the one that came up. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Jake Trent is the one that came up with that. I want to give him credit where credit is due. I thought it was great though. Here's why I think that's a funny and accurate, is it an analogy or a metaphor? I think a metaphor or an analogy. It's analogous too. So it's, I'm gonna have trouble talking about this, keeping a straight face. So first of all, it's funny because that's kind of what it looked like when I drew it. That's number one. Number two is it's meant to represent a tight-knit, intimate group, people that you are close with, right? And that particular part of the body is a intimate, tight-knit circle, right? For people you're close with. Like, I think that it bears out. I think it's an accurate and funny analogy. Now, I'm not very uptight. Okay, if you haven't noticed this by now, it's one of the primary. First of all, that's who I am. The lighthearted joking is part of who I am. I find things funny sometimes that other people don't. I think I'm hilarious. My wife says I'm not, but also I think this space could use some humor, okay? And some off-color humor is the best humor. Jokes aren't supposed to be, humor's not supposed to be safe and clean, and you know, now I'm a dad, so I have to keep it relatively clean on my channel, but areola, I don't know. And for the circle around a man's phallus there, I looked that up. It's called the glans. It's called the glans, G-L-A-N-S. I would be fine if you had a tight-knit group and what can we come up with for glands? The gilded glands. That's a good one. Or maybe the Glands Group Incorporated, right? Glands Consolidated. The, what's another G word? The Great Glands Group, the 3 Gs, triple G, G3. The man's gland. Yeah, I would be fine with that. I would be fine with that, okay? It's not past the point of dirty or anything. I'm fine with it. I am sorry if you don't like it, but I will continue to use that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about it. I'm not. And this space can use humor. You know what the funniest thing about other channels, so I watch a lot of other prepper channels, and they never laugh. They don't laugh. I don't see them laughing hardly ever. Hardly ever. The big ones, the small ones, all of them in between. I think we take ourselves way too seriously. That's what makes me think when I see a channel, it's fun. I'll watch a prepper channel and the guy is like serious in every one of his videos, just dead serious, like it's all about business. Then when he's in an interview, I see him smiling and laughing. And I go, that's the real one. That's what I want to see. I want to see that guy on camera. But that's not what they put on camera. It's cuts, it's edits, it's serious business, it's a script, that's not my channel. I'm sorry, but it's not. Someone said, please go back and watch the video where he discussed the circle of trust. It was a joke based on his elementary whiteboard drawing. Elementary? How dare you? Yeah, no, that's true. In the immortal words of Sergeant Hulka, lighten up, Francis. Lighten up, Francis. Yeah, I feel... I'm gonna catch myself on fire here. Yeah, it's lighthearted. The areola of trust will continue. Now, I thought about making a sticker, and I did stop because I didn't want I don't want to sell nipple stickers. That would be too far for me because people, hey, what is that on your car? Yeah. The coming fight. Amber Track says, finally someone gets it that can articulate it. Amen. Thank you. Finally, I'm called articulate. I appreciate that. Thank you, Amber. The coming fight by the people in power, question mark, exclamation point. That's what we've forgotten. We, the people, are in power. Wake the F up and grow some balls, people. I said, okay. I understand that, we the people, but that's not the system we have. It's not. Like, you watch what's going on around the world, but even here, I mean, if you don't pay your taxes, you go to jail. Like, there are armed, capable agents of the state everywhere ready to take your freedom anytime you step out of line. It doesn't feel like we're in power. And I think that relates back to voting. You guys know I don't vote. But here's a whole section here that I didn't heart 2 days ago. Okay. So it doesn't feel that way. Like, vote harder. I don't know. My job video, I wore glasses and talked about being a professor. Raptor says, fancy man with his fancy new intro. Man, you've changed. Have a Merry Christmas. Yeah. I did a different intro just for that video, but Stephen Pennington for my job loss. This is something else people commented on. So several people commented on getting out of debt, having 6 months worth of expense money ready to go. Yes. Yeah, but the focus of that video, that's good. I'm not a financial advisor, okay? But that's good advice. The focus of that video was how to keep your job, not really what to do if you lose your job. So the title would, I should have put a different thumbnail on there, but I get what you're saying. 3 days ago. Well, there's a whole series of stuff I didn't heart. Coming fight. Adam Larson says, newsflash, you are already a slave and always have been. Unless you're living completely off the land without currency of any kind, with total disregard for laws and regulations, you are a slave, a pawn. They just give you enough freedom to believe that your choices or free will actually matter. I said, okay, thanks. And Adam, I wasn't trying to be sarcastic. It's kind of depressing. I know you're right. I know you're right. Adam says, it wasn't intended to be a jab. I feel like conversations like this video illustrate the point I was trying to make. It's as if we're saying, you can own me this much, but I won't allow you to own me that much. We should be fighting to the death over being owned at all. Happy holidays to you and yours, man. I appreciate your videos. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Adam. I said, no worries. He said, one more thought. Your comments about prepping for non-compliance remind me of anarchist calisthenics put forth by James Scott. Ooh, I need to look that up. So he gives a big quote from James Scott. So I'm going to look that up. James Scott. James Scott. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Someone asked, what's a 68%er? Meaty part of the bell curve. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll throw that video that I made kind of explaining that concept in the response when somebody asks, because people new to the channel don't know what a 68%er is. That makes sense. Prepping for job loss. This video absolutely provided no value to me at all. I'm pivoting to find something else to watch right now and planning to exit as soon as I'm done typing this. I guess your advice isn't that bad. All right, short stroke piston M9T, no value at all. But why? Okay, I'm sorry. I said I'll do better. Curious Nobody, one of my regulars, one of my members, says, I didn't spend 6 years in evil medical school to be called Mr. Yeah, are you a doctor? Mike Tango Whiskey has been in the garage too long. I love the intro. Makes me laugh when you laugh at yourself. I laugh harder. I've got the same amazingly hilarious dad humor. We are hilarious. I'm right there with you, buddy. Would definitely love to see a channel on fatherhood and being a good husband. Thanks, buddy. I always laugh at my jokes, even if nobody else does. Yeah, I've considered doing a second and third channel on different topics because the algorithm on YouTube doesn't reward topic changes. Like, they just want me to do prepper stuff. They'll only push prepper stuff to prepper people. So if I was going to do fatherhood and husbandry, I kind of did a couple of those videos early on to see what would take fire, what would catch, and those didn't. So those would have to be a separate channel. Angelia Giovanni talks about leaving the country. Instead of working your butt off to die, why don't you move to a country that has, that's better off? Some preppers do that. A lot of preppers, they do like dual citizenship or another passport to move somewhere else. That's not a bad idea. I'm just not there yet. I can't even move to the woods, much less out of the country. Ray T70, The Coming Fight, says, freedom is a state of mind. Jesus never commanded people to fight. This one's touchy. I don't know about that. I'll sum it up like this. I think we see believers fighting in, I think Jesus talks about it when he talks about selling your cloak and buying a sword, buying 2 swords. Also, Peter was armed. I find it strange that Peter was armed in the garden. Remember when he cut the soldier's ear off? Jesus heals the soldier and then rebukes Peter. But what does he say to Peter? Does he say, Peter, where'd you get that sword? Why are you armed? He goes, no. He says, instead he goes, this is not the time. Right? Did Jesus know that Peter was armed? Jesus knew Peter was armed, right? I think God prepares some people for the fight. I felt like that during COVID. I felt like me and my wife and my family, that God was preparing our hearts and our minds and our hands for battle. And sometimes I still feel like that. I think God can use that skill set. I think most of the time it's our job to not fight, but I think sometimes it's gonna be our job to fight. I know not everybody agrees with that, but that's okay. Grinnis David Ad in the coming fight, he says, every American soldier takes the oath to defend our country from enemies. This is all caps too. And it's all one sentence. All caps, all one sentence. I'm having trouble reading this. Talks about Trump and being a dictator and fighting the cops. I said, stop yelling and use periods, please. It's hard sometimes when people... coming fight. So Eleanor something said, it's unfortunate that y'all think liberals are the enemy rather than the current regime and media. Who said that, Eleanor? I never said that. I said, who said that? Y'all? I said, you might have the wrong one, sis. I said, I didn't say that. Yeah, I don't think liberals are the enemy, and I don't think the current regime is my friend, and I don't think the media is my friend. So like all 3 points you made, I would counter all 3 of those. That's why I said I think you've got the wrong one. The coming fight. James says YouTube is at it again, taking comments down. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that if YouTube is taking comments down until somebody says they're taking them down, and there's nothing I can do about it anyway. So I don't know. That's frustrating for me because I have all of my filters are off. All of the comments should be getting through. Nothing is held back. There's no filters. I don't delete comments. With the exception. So there have been 2 times where somebody I know was in the comments and they put some information in there that told people where I work or where I live. Anybody who tries to dox me in the comments, not even like negatively, anybody who ends up sharing identifiable information about me, I will delete those comments because I'm trying to clean up my online profile. So the coming fight, Practical Patriot says, part of the problem is old school survivalists, the people who were preparing to survive nuclear war and fight communism versus candy arse modern day preppers. And he capitalized that phrase. Some of us has been around and doing this for many decades. I said, wait, which one am I? Am I old school or am I a candy behind prepper? And he lists two authors that I should know, and I go, I don't know them. He said, oh, you're one of those candy arse preppers. So the coming fight video. Love the shout out to Bear. Yeah, I watch Bear Independent quite a bit. I feel a fight coming too. He says to take care of your areolas. Yeah, I will. I'll protect all of the areolas. 3 prepper habits. Scott Taylor says, Mike, I completely agree with you. I was an educator for over 3 decades, and I continue to gather as much knowledge as I can every day. My grandchildren are asking me, obtain resources such as gardening, canning, doing all the things you have. He says, keep up the good work. You're a godly man helping others. You have an important ministry. I never thought of my channel as a ministry, but I mean, that makes it scarier, right? The Bible places additional responsibility on ministers. So I guess I try not to think of myself that way. But I appreciate that comment. Thank you. In the state I live in, it took more courage to mask up, Bobby Johnson says. Being able to critically think past. Okay, so he says, he goes on to comment. He commented 3 times, so I think he was commenting as he watched. Being able to critically think and pause on it and not just react emotionally from either perspective matters more than just being stubborn and ignorant, fueled by emotions and cognitive biases. First of all, that's not what drove me to respond. Mine was a careful, thoughtful, calculated, expert, and experienced response to, very specifically, to masking, okay? I've worn respirators for decades, and I understood, once I figured out, yeah, none of what you said in that statement right there is true. Then he goes on and says, what makes a man and makes you courageous? empowering and protecting community no matter the personal cost. You don't rise to the occasion or your training, you always fall to your character. Okay, I like that second statement, but no, I'll go back to it. During that time, which one took more courage? To comply or not to comply? And I'm telling you, man, that an honest assessment, people were acting out of fear. Anyway. Clay says digital ID is going to be a major problem for Christians. Yeah. So coming fight video, same thing. NY Singh says, Mike, need to highlight that you said once we were safe. You did not say no masks ever. Millions died. The masks helped the system from collapsing. Yeah, I agree with half of your statement. So when I said once we were safe, I didn't mean once the state said we didn't have to do it anymore. When I said once I knew that me and mine were safe, and there's a whole series of things that kind of went down that made me realize, okay, the danger they're presenting is not what they're saying it is. So yeah, no masks ever. I'm not anti-mask. I'm anti-lies. I'm anti-coercion. I'm anti-tyranny, right? So once I felt like we were at that place, and everybody has to make that decision, you know, where's that tipping point for themselves? At the very beginning of the pandemic, the first couple of weeks, my family was staying home. I was going grocery shopping. I'd bring my groceries into the garage and spray them with like cleaner and like, nobody knew what the hell was going on, right? I just think that I came to that conclusion. A small portion of us came to the conclusion that something's off. What we're being told is not accurate sooner than others. Now all of the information is out there that people can come to that same conclusion on their own if they look for it. But coming fight, someone, Owen in April says, if you can't make the effort to become physically fit, then you will not have the will to fight. You are not ready. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Someone to my coming fight video, I talked about the barbell approach for fathers. The barbell training seems irrelevant. Catawba woman. Parents are hardwired to protect their offspring, both male and female. I would argue females are more hardcore when it comes to defending their genetic produce. Genetic produce? Granted, there are plenty of crap parents, especially deadbeat dads, but I'm not sure you need to train most people for what their brains will automatically do. Catalba, I don't know if you're married or if you're dating or what. I responded, I said, most men, specifically men, are soft right now. Unable or unwilling or both to do what is necessary. So your instincts matter less than your inclination and your capability. Are you able and are you willing to do it? Not do you know what you should do, but what are you able and what are you going to do? That's more important. My teenage kids, it drives me crazy. I tell them something and they go, I know. I don't care what you know. I know that you should have done that, but you didn't do it. Either is it a training issue and you aren't able? Because I can train you so you will become capable. Or are you not willing? Do you know how to do it? You just chose not to, right? Are you able and are you willing? Is it a can't or a won't? And I think a lot of men that I see nowadays, and it's Soft Times has produced an entire culture of soft men, especially in the West. I'm not as confident as you are that men specifically would stand up and do the thing when they need to. I'm just not. Todd Sickinger from my coming fight video says, it sounds like you need courageous areolas. That's going to be a theme now. You need courage. This guy says, I see comments, liberty a whole lot, but Americans find it very normal that other countries get invaded by them and their countries' riches are taken by the U.S. And before the U.S. takes it, you will be bombed. When you find freedom important, then don't enslave other countries. I said, I pinky swear not to enslave other countries. I think he's talking about the U.S. as a whole, but I haven't done that. And I misquoted a famous saying in there. A couple people, they said it came from different people, but I prefer to be dead than live on my knees. Yeah, I'll die on my feet than live on my knees. It's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in war. That's another good one. I'm a real cowboy. So Arizona WX6US says, I'm a real cowboy and a veteran. I will never, ever, ever comply to the distraction of my country. I'm a real cowboy. What's a real cowboy? This guy says, Jonathan Keith Kidd says, while I appreciate the sentiment of the video, the coming fight video, I don't believe courage is a supreme virtue. I believe the supreme virtue would have to be holiness or righteousness. I say this because while courage is usually a virtue, a courageous villain is a terrible thing. That's a good point. He wasn't trying to be argumentative either. I said, great point. But it was in fact C.S. Lewis that said, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. So even righteousness, it's easy when you're not tested, right? Righteousness has to be tested. Faith has to be tested. Faith and righteousness that are not tested, I'd argue that they're not actually the thing, personally. Zachary Russell. Oh, is this Zachary Russell? It wasn't Jake Trent. So here we go. Zachary Russell 135. Whoa, no credit? Talking about the areola of trust. I commented the areola of truth on that first video you did about building community. Copy. You will get full credit in the next HFR. Here it is. Zachary Russell 135. Zachary Russell 135. The areola of truth. I got the idea for the areola of trust from Zachary Russell 135. There you go, sir. Proper credit. I'm not even being sarcastic either. The coming fight, we're screwed. As a world of people, this is going to be the ultimate Darwinian cleanse of the weak and naive. Resistance is foolish. The reality of what to come is much more violent and ironic. Preppers are just huge treasure troves for people who know and understand what it truly means to survive. Fearing an automatic collapse is comical. It'll move slow and sleep away anyone not moving along. Sweep away, I think he means. I said, okay, thanks, sir. Cyber Sportster says, the coming fight video, what do you mean you're not on the team? I think that is your decision to exclude yourself. The system is intended to end crime. I'm sorry that offends you. Stop encouraging people to war against law enforcement. What? Cyber Sportster. I've seen, he's commented quite a bit. I go, you must be a cop. I haven't really talked about cops. I am mainly referring to the powers that be at the top. So I talked a lot about the powers that be. And he goes, hey, you're talking about cops. Now, I wasn't talking about cops. But I think it's funny you include cops in that power structure. I think law enforcement is part of that power structure. I didn't encourage anybody to war against anything. Yeah, I haven't talked about law enforcement. So, but I figured this guy must be a cop. To be responding that way, he must be a cop, right? Okay. Courage can't actually exist. So Nictophile 13 says, courage can't actually exist without intelligence. If you're dumb as shite, it's obstinance you're expressing, not courage. That's a good spin on it, right? It's a good take. Boy, someone got a lot of comments here. Prepared Father. Yeah, I don't want to read that comment. The battle is lost if you let anyone tell you what your value is. Yeah. I prefer to avoid, so Jay Liette says, I prefer to avoid a civil war. There is a reason for at least the last 4 years that the borders were open. I've lost all faith in the government. Marvin Brock says, based on past data, roughly 75% of the population will always go along with the system, no matter what it's pushing. 7 to 12% is the percentage that will consistently push back. I feel like that's accurate. I don't know where he got those stats from, but I feel like that's pretty accurate. The Coming Fight Dingle Bass says, I love how this started as a common sense prepping channel, and in less than a year later, it's full-blown fear-mongering. Full-blown fear-mongering. I said, full-blown? I said more like half-blown. It's not either or, it's both. 80% TOTC, 20% SHTF, same as always. Also, I checked out your jazz band videos. I love the bass. So I went to this guy's channel, Dingle Bass. Dingle Bass. It's Dingle Bass. And he plays the boom boop boom boop boop boop. He plays the not the cello, but the bass. He plays the bass in a jazz band. So I'll take your critique, jazz band guy. It's okay. So common sense prepping, full-blown fear-mongering. So this comment did sit with me though. I was like, is that what's happened? Now, I have been doing more black pill content, but it's not because that's also who I am. So I'm most days I'm this common sense 68%er living in the suburbs. That's my reality. That's my life. But man, I got to tell you, my mind and my planning and I go dark. Like it's 80% TOTC and it's 20% SHTF. And my relationships in real life, like when I work at a new place, it takes me about 6 months before people get to know the real me, where they start to hear some of what I really think. And that's all that's happening on my channel. I'm not changing. You are just getting to see more and more of me as I become more comfortable and more articulate in my thoughts and ideas. Everything that I'm putting out, none of it's new. None of this stuff these are my actual thoughts. These are the things that my heater went out, now I'm gonna freeze to death. These are the things I'm actually thinking. And I haven't even put out all of my black pill content. I might make its own playlist, like just black pill stuff. Less than a year, it's been 6 months too. Full-blown fear-mongering. I don't feel like I'm fear-mongering. Some of the things that are coming are scary. So when I talk about them, if you want to call that fear-mongering, I guess, but those are my thoughts, man. Those are the things I actually think about the stuff that's happening. So, Coming Fight, nobody's going to resist anything. People today do not have what it takes to keep what we have. One day, freedom will be something that we talked about in the past tense. Yeesh. This guy says, do you think you are free? Name 5 things that are not licensed, taxed, or ferried by the government. I said salvation. Number 1, salvation. Things that are free, things that are made, things that are found, things that are traded, and things that are bartered are not licensed or controlled by the government. Also, thank you. I think I will use that as a video idea. I think that's a great video idea. Salvation is free, and then the things that the government doesn't control are things that are made, found, traded, and bartered. That's a great video idea. Someone's going to steal it now. Dang it. I got to quit doing that. I still have a whole list of ideas. They're not stopping, so. Charles says, a very old phrase that I take to heart. It means, if you want peace, prepare for war. So sic vis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. I pray for peace, but I'm preparing for war in every way possible. That's a good balance. I like that. Love it, love it, love it. Courage begets courage. Yeah, talking a little bit about courage and how courage is contagious. It is contagious. When you start standing up, I remember one time I was in a store and I was not masked. And a guy, this old timer, he was in there and you could tell he had his mask like down to his over his mouth. And he turns to his wife, he goes, he's not wearing one, I'm not wearing one. And he took it off. He snatched it off his own face. It was so fun. It was great. Okay, I think I'm at just about an hour. Boy, there were a lot of comments this time. Lots and lots of comments. How am I at 4 days? Just 4 days. That seems impossible. Oh, it's the Coming Fight video. Maybe that was the peak. 5 days. Okay, goodness. Whew. Man, But yeah, I think courage is courageous, or is contagious. I do believe it is. My 3 prepper habits. Somebody said Bengals95 says, I can't take your list serious. They don't all start with the same letter. It should be look, learn, and loot. That's great. I love that. My 3 prepper habits were not 3 of the same letters, which I usually do. He says it should be look, learn, and loot. If I'd given it more thought, maybe I'll go back and reshoot that. I won't reshoot it, but thank you, sir. Let's see. Liked the list, the 3 pepper habits. I always get a lot from going on a 45-minute walk every day. It helps you learn your local area, keeps you fit, keeps you using your shoes and coats and hats. Also a good chance to meet your neighbors. That's a great way to do kind of an area survey, right? Is to go on regular walks in your neighborhood. Someone says, thanks for your videos. Your common sense approach is a hope for our nation. Oh man. That's a tall order. I said, thank you. I appreciate that. There's a whole thing here about maybe the old-fashioned way. Do you think for 1 minute this guy about COVID stuff? I'm just so tired of talking about it. Arguing about the evidence. I'm like, if people don't see it by now, I don't know what to do. Anyway, I think I'm going to call this HFR to a close. We're over an hour already. I appreciate you all sticking around for this, and I will see you during this week's videos. This is Mike Tango Whiskey, and I'm all clear.